Okay, our winning car owner, Roger Penske, has joined us right now. And Roger, as you just mentioned to me, it's quite a way to start out with the chase with Brad winning today's Geico 400. And points leader, and just talk about the significance of that win and how you thought things played out today.
Well, I guess the first thing is after last night, California Speedway, I wasn't sure what to expect, when I came here. But, Brad said he had a good car. I think we qualified better than we have over the last several weeks. But, we looked at, coming into the chase was the last, 12 races and, what our consistency had been. It looked like we had done a pretty good job. So we got a new car this week. He is certainly focused. He has brought a lot to the team, and I think Paul Wolfe, as everybody knows, has just been a terrific crew chief there. It looks like two brothers working together. And then the engine shop gave us the best power we've had all year. And it's ironic, we win this race and we're moving on from Dodge, but the Dodge engineering team really supported us, and it's just a great victory. And to be able to race the 48, we've been wanting to race the 48 for as many years as I think I've been in this sport, and to be able to race, side by side and within 2 or 3 seconds for probably almost 100 laps and come out on top is real credit to his driving skills. And that last pit stop, I don't know if everybody knows, I think it was about 12.9, which got us out there in good shape. And to me, those are the things. If you put them all together, we ended up, with a win. So it's a great day for us. It cools me down a little bit after being hot last night.
Take some questions now for Roger. If you have one, raise your hand. We'll get you a microphone. Any questions for Roger Penske? Nate has one right here.
Nate Ryan, USA Today. Did you think about maybe not coming after what happened last night? And is it my imagination, or does it seem like you're coming more often these days because of the way the two cars run?
Well, that's one of the things that I've got to check in with Brad. He expects me here. So, no, I was planning to come, win or lose last night, and we got here this morning about 10 o'clock, and it was, was focused on this race. The chase is so important. You forget the first 28 races, really, don't you? Who won them? Who had the poles, who had led the most laps, and it's now down to, these last 10 races. So I think we're in good shape. He is just been an amazing young guy. His support in the shop, and he's a very constructive driver from the standpoint of our people within the company. And we had a lunch this past Monday, and Brad, he revs them up. And he goes around and thanks them, and it's important. These guys are big deals, big stars, but I think he has the roots from his family and the way he started to work with everybody from top to bottom. And today was a byproduct of that.
Okay. Does he rev you up? Does it make it more enjoyable for you just to come to NASCAR races?
Well, he won't let me sleep, I can tell you that. I get Twitters, I'm a big texter now, so if you want to know anything, just text me based on him. So he and I are talking all the time. I've got to get to my day job sometimes, I tell him.
Let's go over here to the left for a couple questions from Joe, and then David, and then we'll go upstairs, and I'll come over to Jay. Go ahead.
Joe Menzer, NASCAR.com. Roger, could you just talk a little bit about, it kind of seemed like today was a day where Jimmy Johnson was maybe sending a message to the rest of the chase field in the end. I think Brad did. And also, did you get more than what you expected from Brad when you first, have you gotten more out of him by far than what you expected in terms of everything he's given your company?
Well, I think you got to go back to the year before we hired him. He at one point he came by to see us, and he said that he'd like to come and race for our team, but he couldn't do it. He had a commitment, but he said, when I do come, I want to help build a team to win the championship. And I think he's never forgotten, and that was a year before he started with us. And he's been focused. Do I feel we got what we expected? Obviously, the quality of his driving, and he went through a lot of rigmarole. Some he maybe was due, some he wasn't. But I think he's managed to develop a lot of rapport with the drivers. I think they trust him running with him wheel to wheel. He's not a reckless guy at all. And on and off the track, I think he's got high integrity, and that's something we want. And certainly, with what he's been able to do, and I think I said this to he and Paul Wolfe, I said, if you guys help us attract the best people, that's the benefit that Hendricks has had. When you look at top to bottom of his organization, it's the quality of the people that make the difference. And I think that Keselowski, Wolfe, those were a good partnership, and they've helped us do more. So I would say he's delivered everything I expected. But, you know, to win a race, the first race of the Chase, and beat the 48, I guess is something that, you know, you're pretty happy when you go home.
Let's go David Newton, and then we'll go to press box, and then we'll come back down here. Go ahead, David.
Hey, Roger, David Newton, ESPN.com. You mentioned the 48 several times and how you've wanted to run with them in this kind of situation. And Brad, about the last month or so, has been kind of calling out the 48 and the Hendrick teams a little bit for their rear suspensions, saying we want to be able to play them even. Is it almost a challenge for you guys and Brad to, is it mind games or whatever, a challenge, though, to be up there and be with him and prove you can be with him?
Well, I didn't get involved in the discussion on, you know, the suspension, but, you know, I can tell you the best scrutineers in the business are the other teams. And, you know, we could see that, you know, and I take my hat off to them technically. You know, they're so far ahead many times that, you know, we're trying to, you know, not only see what they're doing but do slightly better. It's interesting. I said, when's the last time we were parked next to the 48, you know, in the garage? And Travis said, boy, their eyes going both directions. We're looking at their stuff. We're looking at theirs. So it's you know, pretty interesting. But to me, you know, they're the benchmark. You don't win the championships that he has, and Hendricks, I don't know how many he has now. So you know, that's the gold standard that we have to try to compete against. And I think you know, Brad's comments, a lot of them were kidding, but you know, it creates a little bit of noise. You guys like a little noise, so we're going to make a little noise today.
This group likes noise? Are you sure?
Yeah, no. Sure. But anyhow, very happy.
Let's hear from our winning driver right now before we go upstairs to the press box. Brad Keselowski piloted the number 2 Miller Lite Dodge to victory here today in the first race of the Chase. And it's your 8th career win, Brad, and your first win here at Chicagoland. It's also the first time in your Sprint Cup career you've led the points. So congratulations on all fronts, and just talk about how important it is to win this first race in the Chase.
Well, there's no better place to start than in the lead, right?
Exactly
so,
right.
Why not go from there? But it's certainly a great race. My opinion's obviously a little skewed on that. A good race, how about that? With the 48 car and really everybody, the 5 car was strong, and a couple others were really strong. Like the Gibbs cars were very strong. And our team just did a phenomenal job of executing. Made some key adjustments during the race. They got my car running really, really strong. Certainly there was a lot of other good cars in the field as well. But just proud of the effort and proud of what we were able to do. You know, for those that were listening before, and you know, forgive me for being redundant, but you know, it feels like round 1 of a heavyweight title bout. Just it's a 10-round bout, and week 1's done, and we might have run the round, but we didn't by any means knock them out. So you know, we got a lot of racing left to go, and you know, we're feeling good about today, but know that we have a lot of work to do.
Let's go to the press box now for questions for either Brad or Roger. Go ahead, press box.
Mike Hembry, Speed.com. Roger, you mentioned that you're trying to race against the gold standard, and you're doing that with a manufacturer that's sort of backing out of the garage. Are you confident you're okay over the last 9 races with the Dodge situation and all that implies?
Well, there's no question. You know, that Dodge has been a great asset to us. I mean, they made the decision to support us. Senior management obviously decided that they were going to focus maybe on something other than motorsports, at least the Cup side. And we made that decision with them, you know, almost a year ago when we decided to move on to Ford. But I think the one thing we both have done is we, you know, clasped our hands and said, hey, we're going to go for it here and do our very best because, you know, they've been a great partner. And I think the cooperation technically that they've had with our chassis guys, our engine people, and our dynamic people has been terrific. So, you know, we might be backing out of the garage, but I certainly when I back out, you know, I want to leave them with the best results we can.
Let's stay up in the press box for another question. Go ahead.
Hi, this question's for Brad. It's Nick Devon from the West Bend Daily News. Brad, Roger kind of mentioned a little bit about that you're really hands-on with what goes on at the shop and getting this team ready. Why do you want to be a part of that, and why are you so hands-on with that?
Well, I mean, I feel like it's my goal to be a Sprint Cup champion, to be a winner. Racing is one of the few things I've ever done in my life that has been able to take me to another level, mentally and physically, and it demands that out of you to be successful. And there's no guarantee of success in this sport, as there's no guarantee of success in any sport. But this one in particular, and the way I approach the work ethic of it, whether it was from my dad or whatnot, or who I got it from, that could be argued for, some time. But I approach it as though I was a baseball player. Baseball players, at the mound, or I guess you'd say at the plate, and there's 100-mile-an-hour fastballs coming at you all the time. There's always somebody trying to beat you. But if I go down, I'm going to go down swinging. I'm going to go down swinging the bat as hard as I can each and every time. I'm not going to stare at the ball and watch it go by and be struck out. So if that means I got to work harder to go down in that manner, then that's what it's going to be. But it also means I got a great shot at hitting that ball. And right now that's where our team's at.
Let's come back downstairs, and first of all, let's hear from our winning crew chief, Paul Wolfe. Paul, congratulations on this win today. Talk about, and certainly the job on pit road had a lot to do with this win.
Yeah, I think it was key to the results of the race. I feel like as the closing laps came down there, the second part of the race, it looked like it was going to be between us and the 48, and obviously clean air is so important, and to be able to come down pit road and have a great stop like we did, and be able to just clear them, get back on the racetrack, that was, I feel like, the key. I thought they would mount a little more of a challenge there, but we were able to continue to pull away, so I was a little surprised by that. Not sure what was going on with their car, but definitely I'd say the best car won today for sure.
Let's come back downstairs now. I believe Jay Hart, did you still have a question? Jay Hart, Bob, Jim, and Lee.
Yeah, Jay Hart, Yahoo Sports. I guess for both, ask Roger first and then Brad. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
When you brought Brad over, and you talked a little bit about this earlier to David's question, but obviously a championship is the goal. Are you surprised by how soon this team has come together and Brad has molded into a legitimate championship contender? And then I guess I would ask Brad, answer the same question.
Well, I think I mentioned earlier that Brad came and we talked early on, and he said, look, I want to help you build a championship team. And I think that we struggled the first year in Cup, but we were able to put Paul together. We talked about people earlier, and with Paul and Brad really getting together on the nationwide side and getting success, we attracted some other good people. And to me, we saw the success racing the best guys in the nationwide side. And last year when Brad had his accident, I think that showed me, what kind of person he was. He wasn't walking around here running for sure. He was hurting every day, but was able to put out and win the races he did. So, I'm thrilled at the level we are. I think that he's a young man in his career. I think, our ability to attract someone like Logano, to come and be his teammate next year, another young gun, will only make us better. And I think when you look at the teams that have been successful, it's, as I said it earlier, it's about the people. And I think Brad's a leader, Paul is a leader, and I think, the people we have, Travis Geisler and Sir Mike Nelson and obviously Tim Cindric, that we're working as one team. And, we win as a team, we lose as a team. And I think that's what Brad has told me when we got together. He said, I want to help you win a championship. Now, obviously, if he's going to help me do it, he's going to be the champion. So we're on that track right now.
Let's go to Bob and
I didn't know what to think. It's certainly a long road and a tough road to get to where we're at. I'm proud of every step that we've taken along the way. I think that we can still be better. I think that these are really good times, and I think we're just getting into them, and the best is still yet to come here at Penske Racing. I really believe in the process we have going forward, and bringing on Joey is certainly one piece of that. Certainly the added continuity that Paul and I have with this being our third season together is phenomenal, and everyone on the team that's followed up through the nationwide side and beyond. I like the structure we have with the nationwide car and how we continue to bring in people. I like the future we have with guys like Ryan Blaney, who won last night. Just every step of the way, I feel like Penske Racing is putting itself in a position to be a team that can win multiple titles over the next few years, and to be the elite team, elite company it's capable of being across the field in NASCAR. And so I'm very proud of those efforts, and I'm proud to be associated with it. I've made it a point to not try to overstate my role in that, because it is a team that does it. It's Roger, it's Walt, it's Bud, it's Paul, it's Travis Gosler, it's Michael Nelson, it's Tim Cindric. You name them, it's all of us. We all have that responsibility to make it happen. And certainly I might be one of the loudest in the group, but you know, it takes all of us to make it happen, and I like where we're going.
Let's go over here to the left. Raise your hand, Jim. We'll get you the mic, Jim Utter. And then we'll go to Bob and then Lee.
Jim Utter, Shaw Observer. Brad, Roger said earlier that he's been wanting to race the 48 since about as long as he's been in this sport. In
yeah, me too.
In Victory Lane, you talked about this being a heavyweight title fight, but only round one. Was it more of that way because of who you were racing at the end of this race today?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it, for sure. It's all-encompassing, but that was certainly part of it, and we all know how good his team is. We all know how good he is. And look at the resume over the last 6 years. Hey, look at the resume over the last 10 years. It's impeccable. To be racing him, whether it was for the lead or for 10th, is an accomplishment.
Let's go over here to Bob.
Bob Hocker, Sporting News. Brad, Jimmy said that on your last pit stop that you kind of came up on the track a little bit early and you may have impeded him a little bit, but he also said he didn't think that he said it probably didn't affect the outcome of the race because you were so good on that last run. So I'm curious if you were aware. I mean, when you come off a pit road, how difficult is it here, because you know the whole backstretch is turned and you're not on, and the apron's very flat before you come up. And then also, was the car on that last run the best, and did you do anything to it to make it the best at the end?
I think I understand your second question, but I'm not sure what your first question is.
First question is, I mean, is it tough to figure out where to blend in here because of kind of the nature of the track?
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at it, there is no enforced line like you see in other sports, and that's not a bad thing. That's just one more thing to monitor during the race. But it's certainly I don't want to say a gentleman's agreement. It's a policy of merging down the backstretch or up off of turn 2, I think is what it says specifically in the driver's meeting. And I feel like that's what we did. So, you know, you can make rules that count it down to the inches and just make it a pain in the ass for everybody that participates in the sport, or you can just have a rule like we do. And I felt like I was inside those guidelines, and I think NASCAR agreed as well, based on their no call. But certainly that's something that we'll continue to get better clarification as we race and as we understand, and that's how I understand it. The other question was about if we had a.
Did you make any adjustments to make it the best car?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question for Paul. I'm not sure, because the last run the car was just really good. I was very happy.
Paul, you want to maybe address that?
Yeah, Brad kind of asked me the same question there in Victory Lane, and you know, we made some small changes throughout the day, but you know, going back and forth from 2 tires to 4 tires, sometimes you got to be careful on how you adjust on the race car. And for us, the last stop was just 4 tires and the fuel we needed to get to the end. But obviously, I don't know if the 48 just lost handle or what, but we were definitely our best on the run that counted. So I guess that's the important part.
Let's go to Lee and then Nate.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports.
I just did, yeah. Go ahead.
Brad.
Did you see the shock fell off the 17? It's on ESPN.
Yes.
Coverage is excellent.
We talked to you this morning about what you felt, you know, when you woke up, and obviously you were just probably a few minutes from getting out of bed, right?
No, I was up early. I was excited about this race.
But what does it mean to you at this point, after everything that you've fought through, to be leading the points? I mean, you've led the points in Nationwide, but this is Sprint
Sure.
Cup. What does that mean to you after everything that you've been through?
I don't know yet. I really don't. I haven't allowed it to sink in, and my thought process has been in what do I need to do to be the best driver over the next 8 or 9, I should say. And I'm not going to let it sink in. I'm going to focus on the next 9, and I know everybody on my team's going to do that. It's great to get to the points lead, but we've got so much racing left, and it would be a disservice to today's accomplishments to allow our focus to get off of tomorrow's workload.
5 laps to go, though. You're already, saying it was Miller's time.
No, I was wishing it was Miller time.
Then even taking the checker.
Yeah, I mean, it was. The races get really long when you're leading, especially at the end. I'm sure that's how Jimmy felt too when he was leading. But just a long race, but a good race for our team.
Let's go to Nate, and then we'll go back up the press box, and then we'll come back downstairs. Go ahead.
Nate Ryan, USA Day. Brad, I know you're going to go back and watch this race on DVR, and you're going to find, following up on Bob's question, you're going to find that Jimmy took umbrage at the way that you merged back on, at the way you blended back on there. And I know that after Michigan, you guys kind of had the 48 a little bit spun out there too. Are you still relishing that? Are you still thinking there's a mental edge that you and Paul are trying to play against Jimmy and Chad Knaus?
Well, it's not for me to speak about a mental edge. That's for you guys to speculate. And if you want to ask him about that, that's fine. But it's not for me to speculate. But when you're winning races and running up front like we did today, it means a lot to everybody. It means a lot for your own team, and it means a lot to others sometimes. So I know that watching a 48 win quite often. That has, that does have an effect over time, a psychological advantage, but, it's not for me to speak.
Press box, go ahead for a couple questions.
Brad, Nick Demon again. Did you get a chance to watch any of the IndyCar race yesterday? And Will came up short second year in a row. Do you kind of feel like now it's your chance to, or do you feel like you need to now bring in the championship for Penske Racing as a whole company, IndyCar, NASCAR, and company-wide?
Well, it was certainly unfortunate to see Will have his problem there yesterday, but I felt that way whether or not he won or lost. Our goal was still to win the captain here a Sprint Cup championship, and certainly wasn't going to make an excuse if Will won that we didn't have to. We're going to try and win no matter what the circumstances are, and I think that's why RP keeps us employed over here.
Go ahead, press box.
Monty Dutton, Gaston Gazette. Brad, just discounting Talladega, which has been good for you, but is obviously a perilous spot.
Sure.
When you look ahead at the rest of the chase, is there any place that you feel like you have something to prove that you say, boy, if we come out of there with a points lead, we're rolling?
Homestead, yeah.
Well, thank you very much for that.
Just call me Captain Obvious, Monty. I got the captain. I'm Captain Obvious, but no, I'm not going to feel good until it's over. I'm really not. There's not going to be a weekend where you go, all right, it should be easy for me. It's just not the way the sport works. And we see that time after time after time.
But is there any track that you consider your weakness that there's a challenge, particular challenge?
Well, I think if you look at our track record over the last 3 years, every track could have an argument made for being our weakness. Every one of them. Martinsville we've run well at, and certainly had some things happen to us here and there that have kept us from having a great finish. Homestead, we ran pretty well there last fall, and it didn't work out. And Phoenix, we ran pretty well there, and you go back to our history, and our average finish isn't great. I think you could make a case for and against the 2 team at every track remaining through the chase. And it's our goal or our job to focus on this year and these races, and to not allow the history to affect us for good or bad.
Let's come back downstairs now. Let's John, did you have a question? Let's get John, and we'll go back over here and get David and Dave.
John Reyes, Roger and Brad and Paul, let me ask this question for some clarification. Is the 48 what the 48 has done or what the 48 can do that is concerned with you guys in your head? And can you concentrate so much on the 48 that there's another driver out there that can put you out of the game?
Well, let me say this, that it's obvious, as I said earlier, that it's not just the 48, it's the whole Hendricks organization I said it was a gold standard. and I think that they've won championships. Obviously you've seen what he's been able to accomplish this year, and starting on the pole here, leading the laps he had. Obviously he was the one that we had to beat, but I don't think that it's putting us in a deficit position. I think what's really happening is we're seeing where we need to be, and we need to be a little bit better. And there's we've got the Gibbs team, the Roush team, so it just isn't the 48. But I guess we see so much of the 48, and Jimmy's been such a great champion. Look at Gordon and the rest of them, and how Earnhardt's run this year. I mean, it just shows you. And they can get, when you have 4 cars in this chase, we have a tough time running 2 competitively, and they have 4. So I think anyone that's in the sport would have to say, like the Yankees maybe, or someone in football. But they're to me the gold standard, and we want to beat them, and we want to beat them fair and square. And I think that quite honestly, I'd have to thank Rick Hendrick and Dale Jr. When they said I could hire Brad to run both in the Cup and the Nationwide, because he got his early roots there. So to me, it's there's always someone you're trying to equal or better, and I think what Paul's been able to do. I've heard people say, hey, there's some great crew chiefs up and down that pit lane, but Paul Wolfe's one of them, and that's, to me, he's done that only not because he talks too much, for sure. He does it, puts the numbers on the board, and I think that's what we need to do, for the next 9 races, is focus on our own stuff. Always have someone out there that we're trying to beat, and I think that's where we are as a team.
Let's go over here to David Newton.
Yeah, Brad, David Newton, ESPN.com. I think at Michigan, when you were calling out the 48 car a little bit about the rear end suspension, you said 48 car has the most speed, the best history as far as the chase is concerned, but it's my job not to roll over and give it to them. We're going to keep them honest through this chase. Was mission accomplished today?
Well, it was through the chase, not in Chicago, and there's still 9 weeks left. Anytime you win, it's a bit of a mission accomplished for that particular weekend, but the chase isn't about one particular weekend. It's about 10, and there's a long road to hoe.
Let's go to Dave Coleman right here to the left.
Dave Coleman, Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Brad, or maybe Paul, you guys came in for the last stop. I think you're about a second change behind, came in, took the lead. Where did you pick up that second and change? On the track, that extra lap, or coming in, or in the pits?
I'm guessing it was the pit crew. I don't know, Paul.
Yeah, until we go back and review it, I'm not really sure. I was a little surprised myself. I thought with the lead they had, they would at least be able to keep that. And but like I got to say, I mean, the pit crew did a great job. It's important. They stepped up when it counted, and Brad's been one of the best guys on and off pit road here. Through the summer months. We see that week in and week out with, the post-race dartfish stuff, and that's important. It's every little part, and like I said, there's not one thing to me that stands out where we're better than we were last year's chase. It's every area from the guys back of the shop building these cars, to the pit crews, to Brad being a little better, to myself and my engineer making good calls, and even just the mechanics working on the car being a little bit faster, making changes during practice, because every lap counts, and it's I don't think you can point to one area where we're improving right now.
Let's go over here, Bob. Did you have a question?
For really anybody who wants to take it, did you all need to have a good race today, maybe more than the other guys in the chase, because you don't have any teammates in the chase and you're the only Dodge? Do you feel like, just kind of from a mental perspective, did you need to get off to a quick start, maybe more than some of the others?
I looked at, I'm up in the spotters, and, we had, Sam had that speeding penalty, but he ran in the top 10. In fact, I said to myself, hey, we don't have 2 cars in the chase, but when there was a couple of Hendricks cars, you follow me, and we were up there, a couple of Gibbs cars, the 20 and the 18, and then we were there with Sam. So, I think that, I think he finished 11th. He didn't put 4 tires on at the end, which might have hurt him a little bit, but I think that Sam will play a role for us. He's done a lot of the testing. In fact, testing we've done just this last week probably, gave us some information we needed, and he'll continue to do that. And, obviously he's going to be a key part of our team as we go forward next year.
Other questions? Let's take Lee, and then we'll finish with Jim.
For Paul, having worked with him now for a couple of years, where have you seen his greatest improvements behind the wheel?
That's a good question. I think it's important to understand that as we continue to give him better race cars, he can give us better feedback. And I think as a team, we've continued to grow each and every week, and the better race cars he's driving, the better job he can do, and the better feedback he can give us. If you're driving bad race cars all the time, you don't know what's good and what's bad. And now he's had some good race cars. He can give us great feedback, and we can continue to make them better. And I think that's, where over time, we still have room to grow. And I think overall he's just, he does a great job on restarts. And like I said, getting on and off pit road is so important these days with how important that clean air is. And I've seen a lot of gain there as well.
Let's go over here to Jim. This will be our last question. Jim.
Jim Muttershaw, Observer. Brad, you won your first race in the chase today, but you also won your first race as a team owner last night.
Sure.
I just wondered, what did you think about that? And
a great weekend is what I'm thinking now. Yeah.
Must have been good for your organization.
Sure.
That's been trying to win for a while.
I mean, yeah, it's what a great weekend. I mean, other than the IndyCar stuff, I feel bad for this guy, but two really big wins for me personally and professionally. And to see Ryan and his family together in victory lane was just one of those heap good karma moments, and just felt good. I remember being in victory lane for my very first nationwide win, and my mom and dad being there, and seeing that with Ryan, it felt really good, and knowing that that was able to happen, and in some small shape, I was able to help him do that. Certainly I don't go underneath the cars and work on them, or the trucks, I should say. There's other people that do that, but it was nice to be a part of the bigger scheme of things to make it happen. And I think he's got such a bright future, and really that whole team does. So I'm proud of the whole effort, and I just can't wait to see. Like I said, I feel like the best is still yet to come out of all Penske racing, and I'm trying to position that truck team to be in position to serve Penske Racing, and so they all get stronger together, and we're a strong, cohesive unit across the board per the results of this weekend, and we still have room to be even better. So that's all very encouraging stuff.
Congratulations to the number 2 Miller Lite Dodge driver Brad Keselowski, crew chief Paul Wolfe, and team owner Roger Penske.
Great stuff. Thank you,
Congratulations
guys.
on this week, and we'll see you at New Hampshire.
Thank you, Commander.
You're welcome.